Hey friends, my name is Oleg, this is Mr. Bond, welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to do a full review of Zelos Abyss version 3. This is the third Zelos watch review in 3 months and by far the craziest. So I did a review of Zelos Mako version 3, the watch is pretty much sold out. I did a review of Zelos Hammerhead version 2 and I thought that watch was crazy and thick and had 1000 meters of water resistance. So what more could Zelos do? Well, I think they outdid themselves with this one. Is the craziest Zelos thus far. 20 millimeters thick, 3000 meters of water resistance. For some reason, online I've got this reputation, this joke reputation as a guy who always thinks that there isn't enough water resistance. Well, 3000 meters of water resistance is almost enough. I still wish it had a little bit more, but 3000 meters, fine, I'll deal with it. The thickness of 20 millimeters is something a little bit harder to deal with. Personally, this watch wouldn't be something that I'd be comfortable wearing on a day-to-day basis. This is more of a professional diver instrument as opposed to just a wristwatch. So keep that in mind, this watch is not going to be for everyone. One last thing I want to get out of the way before we get started with the review is the fact that Zelos did provide this watch for the review for free and we get to keep it. Of course, that doesn't affect the review in any way and there are no affiliate links, we're not getting paid or anything like that, just so you know. Now, let's get started with the full review. Let's begin by looking at the case dimensions on this watch. It has a 43mm diameter, it's 51.5 millimeters from one lug to another. However, if you wear it on the stainless steel bracelet, it's about 58 millimeters from this point to this point, from these protruding male links. It has a 22mm lug width, and it's 20.5 millimeters thick, including the double-domed sapphire crystal. Here's what it looks like on my 7.5 inches or 20 centimeters wrist. This one is a monster. First of all, looking at it head on, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it looks kind of thick, but you can't really tell that 20 millimeters thickness until you look at it from the side profile. That's when it really stands out. It has a very thick case back, so it sits quite tall on your wrist, plus the 20 millimeters of thickness, so this one is a monster. This one is a big boy. You really have to love big oversized watches to truly appreciate this one here. I should also say that this is not a good winter watch. This is not a good watch to wear when you have to wear a jacket or a hoodie or a sweater because very few sleeves will hide this watch. You need to have kind of wizard style sleeves. Otherwise, it will not slide under the cuff of your shirt. So this is more of a summer watch. Wear it with a t-shirt and of course go for a dive type of a watch. For a quick size comparison, here's Abyss version 3 next to a Hammerhead version 2. When I reviewed Hammerhead version 2, I talked about its thickness and I thought it was incredibly huge and thick watch. But comparing to Abyss, I mean, both watches are thick, but Abyss just takes it to the next level. In my opinion, Hammerhead does wear a little bit better because the case appears to be more square, so it hides its thickness slightly better, versus the Abyss is a smaller diameter, it's 43mm diameter, but it is a longer case, especially with this first protruding link, so it doesn't really hide its thickness too well. What's even crazier than the thickness of this watch is the weight. 281 grams. Let me repeat that. 281 grams on the supplied stainless steel bracelet. That's a lot of weight. You're almost carrying 300 grams on your wrist, and you can definitely feel it. I wore this watch for a few days straight, and I could feel my wrist getting tired. So once again, you have to love big watches to truly appreciate what this watch does. Otherwise, you will not enjoy wearing this watch. In fact, it will be kind of a torture for you. The one positive thing is that the watch does come with a rubber strap. I did an unboxing video for this watch. That video can be found on my Instagram. And it comes with a pretty good quality rubber strap, so you could replace this stainless steel bracelet with a rubber strap, and in fact that's how I've been wearing this watch. It makes it more comfortable and more wearable, of course reducing that weight. Looking at the finishes of this watch, the finishes are executed really well. We have all satin finish on the case, on top of the lugs, on the sides of the case, pretty much everywhere. A little bit of a chamfering here on these lugs. All of that is done really well. The transitions look good. It looks like a very competently done watch. And by this point, that's what we expect from Zelos watches. It has two crowns, one at the 2 o'clock position, one at the 4 o'clock position. The one at the 2 o'clock position, you guessed it, that's the helium escape valve. If you go deep diving, you will need one of those, especially since this watch has 3,000 meters of water resistance. I mean, that's why it's so thick. 3,000 meters. That's the most I've ever held in my hands, I think. It's insane. I mean, the kind of pressure that this watch can withstand, so no wonder it's so thick. The crown at the 4 o'clock position is the crown to operate the movement. Let me unscrew that crown. So there's quite a bit of thread. The knurling, the thread on the crown are really good, very satisfying. The crown is also long enough, so it's easy to operate. First position, that's the date change. Second position, the seconds hand stops ticking, and that's the position to change the time on the watch. Now that it's set, we push it back in and screw it in place. On top of being a screw-down crown, this crown is also loomed. I'll demonstrate a loom shot in a couple of minutes here or so. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional bezel. Bezel action is very good, satisfying, confident clicks. It has a lot of resistance and it has a very good grip. It's a thick bezel, so you can definitely turn this bezel if you're wearing your diving gloves. That should be no problem. It has a ceramic bezel insert and it is loomed. Again, I'll demonstrate the loom shot in a couple of minutes here or so. The caseback is a screw-down caseback with an engraving of a submarine here. The engraving is done pretty well. It's a nice and deep engraving. Not too much writing, Zelos 3000 meters, and the model number at the bottom here. It's a very big and thick caseback, as you would expect for something that requires 3000 meters of water resistance. It needs to be thick and it needs to be big and oversized. Another element of the watch that's big and thick and oversized is this crystal. So it has this double domed sapphire crystal, quite a thick piece of sapphire. You can see how far away the dial is, how far away the hands are from the top of this crystal. Speaking of the dial, the watch comes in a few different color combinations. The one they sent me is this black and yellow version. I really like this version. I think the design of the watch is very attractive. It also has the meteorite version, the blue version, gray version. It also comes with 2 different sets of movements and 2 different design aesthetics. One of them is the 300 watch with the date complication like you see here. The other one has kind of a turbine instead of a seconds hand. I think that looks pretty cool. It's to mimic a turbine of a submarine. It's not my cup of tea, but I do have to admit that it looks quite cool. Now the one that they sent me is probably my favorite version of this watch. It has huge oversized indices for hour marks, a lot of surface area to apply that loom. Actually, we've been patient enough already. Let me demonstrate that loom for you. Just look how crazy it is. There's a lot of layers. They are applied nice and even, and the loom lasts for a really long time. I mean, you will have no problem having this loom last you all night long. Even the loom on the crown is excellent. I really have no complaints about this loom. In fact, I'm really impressed with the loom on this watch. Besides the impressive loom, the design is also very impressive. I like the big oversized indices, as I stated before. I like the big chunky hands, the minutes running track all the way at the edges of this dial. The dial is layered. If you look a little bit closely, you can tell that the minute running track is on a lower layer as opposed to the rest of the dial. It also has Arabic numerals for 5-minute intervals, and I like that design aesthetic. It's very subtle, but it works for this watch specifically. Not too much writing, just a Zelos logo applied by the 12 o'clock position, Abyss 3000 meters written closer to the 6 o'clock position, plus we have a date window at the 6 o'clock position with a nice frame, and the date window is color meshed to the dial, good attention to detail. The last thing I'll say about this dial is the grain on it. It's not a flat dial, it has a bit of a grain, and I think that looks awesome. The movement in a watch is a Sellita SW200-1 movement, 26 joules, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, has 38 hours of power reserve, is hackable and hand-windable movement, and it has a date complication. The one in this watch is running very accurately. I'm getting within 3 seconds per day. The watch comes with this massive stainless steel bracelet. I like the design of this bracelet. It's very thick, very chunky, to match the weight and the size of the watch head. Looks really good, good quality, solid links, screw in place pins. However, I do have a couple of complaints with this clasp. So first of all, the micro adjustments as of right now, they don't really work. As you can see on the last micro adjustment that works, but if I were to move this one over, then this part, this protruding part on the bracelet would be in the way and the bracelet wouldn't close. The team from Zelos said they are aware of the problem and they have a solution. I think they're just going to replace this last link here with the longer one to accommodate for micro adjustments. So that's going to fix that. It is a nice engineered clasp. It's the new design. We've seen this design on a few different watches like the Mako version 3 and the Hammerhead version 2. I like the look of this clasp. However, with this professional diver watch, I have one big negative with the clasp. And it's the fact that it doesn't have a diver's extension. I mean, this is a 3,000 meters diver watch. People that buy this watch are most likely going to take it diving. But the watch doesn't have a diver's extension. Big oversight in my opinion. Because now, to put it over your wetsuit, you have to resize the whole bracelet. Even though I myself don't need a diver extension, people that buy watches with 3,000 meters of water resistance expect the watch to have a diver extension, and they are very likely to use one. That's the review of Zelos Abyss version 3. What are my thoughts on this watch? Well, I have a few. First of all, it's too big, it's too heavy for me personally. I mean, the diameter is okay, 43 millimeters, it's actually quite reasonable. The thickness is just too much for my preference. I wouldn't be wearing this watch on everyday basis. It just becomes a little bit too jarring, especially with that weight of almost 300 grams. But I know that some people are really into that, so if you are into it, I think you will enjoy this timepiece. It is hefty, it's well built, the quality overall is pretty good, other than the fact that the clasp needs some more work, it needs a diver extension. But other than that, the packaging, the overall build quality, the way this watch feels, it feels very solid, it feels very substantial. So if you're into those type of watches, great, I think you will enjoy this one. And I also want to say this, at least Zelos didn't build another boring diver. They went out on a limb, they did something totally crazy, totally insane. 3,000 meters of water resistance, 20 centimeters thick, some of them have meteorites in them. Like, all these things are pretty crazy, so I do appreciate micro brands like Zelos going out and doing something different, doing something crazy. Now, the pricing of the watch. Initially, when it was released, it was priced at $570 US. Now the price is $699, so $700. They have this weird release strategy where initially the watch is a little bit cheaper, and in about a month or a month and a half, the price goes up. Now, I have a theory. If you were to email Zelos, if you're still interested in buying one of these watches, and ask them for that discount, ask them to sell you one of these watches at the initial release price, maybe they would do it, maybe they won't, but I would still give it a shot. You might be lucky with that. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps out quite a bit. Plus, you won't miss more videos like this one in the future. And leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the Zelos Abyss version 3. Are you happy that it exists? Are you gonna wear one of these? Is it too thick? Is it too heavy? Leave all those thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing my vintage Rolex Datejust. I just did a full review of this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave it linked in the description below. Also, in the description below, there are two other links. The first link is to bondnatostraps.com if you're looking for a good quality NATO strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time. Buying one of these NATO straps is a good way to do so. The second link is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. Thanks for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.